Welcome into today's show. And yes, you read that title right. 56 Insider Secrets. These are the best tips, so I wanted to make sure that you got all of them. Going to share them all with you right now. Let's go.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
What's going down, my homies? I'm David Sidoni, your first-time homebuyer coach, and today you're going to hear things that you might not have heard before. I've talked about every single one of these things on this list before on the podcast, but today I decided to put them into one big countdown. Things that are make you going to go, wow, I didn't know that. The order is completely random and meant to educate you in just quick little hits. By the time we get to number 56, the goal is that you have some positive nuggets of information that you didn't know about. By the time we hit 56, the goal is to give you lots of positive nuggets of information that you didn't know anything about. And when we get to the end, you're probably going to have figured out that trying to research everything on your own before you start your planning, that's going to keep you renting until you're 72 years old. As always, here at How to Buy a Home, all of the deep research podcast episode numbers that I mentioned, we're going to make sure we put those in the show notes so you can just click to those. Now, let's get to these secrets. Number 1, when lenders are approving you for a loan, they use what they call the lowest middle credit score. And if you're applying with a partner, between the two of you, they're using the lowest middle credit score, not an average. So if one person has a 760 middle credit score and the other one is at 640, your loan and all the fees and the products and the things available to you, it's going to be based on that 640 credit score. Number 2, you do not need 20% down. Can't believe I have to say this, but I don't know if you new people are finding us here because I'm hearing 30 or 40% of people out there still think you need 20% down. Check episode 26 for all the truth about low down payment options. Number 3, this is something I learned here on the podcast from one of the listeners. Well, I knew about it, but they gave it a really cool name. It's called the $6,000 down payment trick. See, we had one buyer who was about $6,000 short of the target down payment and closing cost number, their savings to make sure they could go out and buy a home and know they had enough to do it. Their family, they weren't financially in a position to just write them that check. But you know what their family could do? They offered to let them move into the family home. The buyers happily squeezed in, and then they stopped paying $2,000 a month in rent. And in just 90 days, boom, $6,000 saved, and they could go out and start their home shopping. If you want to hear that full story, that's episode 239, a really great interview. Number 4, before you are ready to start home shopping, like early in your planning, stack your sick days and PTO days before you ever go out shopping because you're going to need them. You might need them for extra showings on weird times, your home inspections, your appraisals, closing tasks and signings, and most importantly, you might need a mental health day. Number 5, check out down payment assistance programs, even if you think you make too much income. Some programs are for middle income buyers, and some of them even allow stacking multiple different programs on top of each other. We've had buyers do this, and their total all-in cost to buy a home, they truly seem unbelievable, but it's real. They happened. Episode 424, it's an interview with Chloe and Eduardo. They only paid $120.95 all in. And in episode 425, the very next one, Shanta, single mom, she paid $31.25. Of course, these are incredible examples. And you might not even have programs like that in your area, especially if you are looking for the ones that stack on top of each other. But they are out there, and you don't know if you don't ask. And every week here, we see buyers buying homes, $400,000, $500,000, even $600,000 or $700,000 homes. And some of the closing costs, total down payment included, we're looking at $10,000, $20,000, or just $30,000 for like a $700,000 home. It happens. Number 6, debt does not automatically disqualify you. I see way too many people stop because they have debt. The key to understanding your debt when it comes to buying a home is that it's based on your monthly payment obligations, not your total debt. Forget your total debt number. We've had doctors that have come on the show and done an interview. They've had $200,000 or $300,000 for another one. That was their student loan debt, and they ended up still being able to buy a home. So forget your gross total debt number. It's all about the monthly payments and your debt to income ratio and how your lender structures your individual plan. Number 7, timing your purchase season. That can offer tremendous advantages. The way it works is traditionally in real estate, it moves in seasonal cycles. Spring is where we get higher inventory, more choice for you, but there ends up being more competition because that's when everyone's out trying to buy homes. Wintertime, that traditionally has less competition, and it can be a better time for buyers to negotiate. What's really exciting right now about 2026 and 2027 is that the current real estate market is not following these traditional seasonal patterns. We're stuck. We're frozen. Thanks to all the fear and distraction of the war and the economic turmoil, it's like a winter window of opportunity and negotiations happening all year long, even as we're getting ready to go into the summer. That's happening right now for more than half of the country. Number 8, understanding the full financial picture. You can negotiate, and a lot of times should try to negotiate closing costs instead of a lower purchase price. Asking for $10,000 in a credit back to you, it can be far more beneficial than asking for $10,000 off the sales price. The difference between a $500,000 home and a $490,000 home, it's $57 a month in payment versus you getting $10,000 back to cover your closing costs. That's cash in your pocket. That $57 a month isn't going to feel like much when you've got $10,000 to redo the bathroom or the kitchen that you really want to do. Number 9, the same seller credits, they can be used to lower your interest rate. They can fund what we call a mortgage interest rate buy down. Here's the deal about mortgage rates. They are not set in stone. You can pay nothing, which is what most people try to do. It's what we call a 0-point loan, and then you're going to get one rate. Or if you'd like to, you can pay what we call points or partial points, give money to the lender to give yourself a lower rate. You can literally buy down your rate. And a lot of times people are taking the seller credits and using them to buy down the rate. Now, of course, you could do this with your own money, but if you're in a situation where you have enough for closing costs and your down payment, but you're in a situation where you get a credit, that's when you talk to your lender to figure out is it best for me to keep this cash or buy down my interest rate. Number 10, did you know that you have 28 different credit scores? And home lenders, they use one specific type of score from each of the 3 credit bureaus. And no, they're not using the credit score that you see in Credit Karma or the score that you see on your bank app. They use a very specific type of those 28 scores, and they pick one from each of the 3 bureaus. And they're not putting them together and averaging them. And they're certainly not using your best score. They use what they call the middle score. Sometimes they say the mid score. So if you've got a 780, a 719, and a 718 on their models, they're using 719, not an average of those 3. This is why we say don't wait to get your credit score locked in. This is the very first thing you should do. Run a complete credit check ASAP so you know exactly where you stand, because the only way to correct your credit score and move all your credit scores up to where you want it to be, that's through time. Especially if you have to deal with contesting something with the credit bureaus, that absolutely takes time. So you want to find out where you are as soon as you can. Number 11, you get free money when you're buying a home in the first few weeks. You don't actually get free money, but it's a really cool thing. Let me explain how this works. When you pay your rent, you're paying it forward. You pay on the first of the month for the next 30 days coming up for you to live in the house. When you pay a mortgage, you pay it backwards. When you pay on the first of the month, you're paying for the last 30 days when you were living in the home. So here's a breakdown for you. If you buy a home on June 15th, you have to pay for the last 2 weeks of June, but it comes out of your closing costs, which you've already been saving up for, and it's a big pile of money, and it's a big estimate. So you're going to put that in with your down payment and your closing costs, and then you're going to live there from June 15th to June 30th, and then comes July 1st. But you have no mortgage payment due. Your first mortgage payment that you have to send out doesn't happen until August 1st. Since you already had those extra 2 weeks covered with your closing costs and that's already paid for, now it means you're going to be living in the home for 6 weeks before you have to make a payment. 6 weeks of paychecks to cover 1 month's rent. Number 12, your salary alone does not determine your affordability for buying a home. Two buyers with the exact same income never qualify for the same loan amount because your individual qualification, it could be much less or perhaps much more than the person you know who makes the exact same money as you. That's because your individual loan approval is based on your debt, your savings, your loan type that you use, the different loan products, your credit score, the location of the home that you're actually going to buy, your taxes, your insurance, and your individual lender strategy and first-time homebuyer experience in knowing what options are available to you the current time that you decide to write an offer on a home. Your payment isn't just a number. It's a moving target that's going to adjust daily. Number 13, the price negotiation, that's only your first negotiation with that home seller, so don't piss them off right up at the beginning. Once you're under contract, you have gigantic negotiations on things like the home inspection, the appraisal, and other things that might pop up, termite, and all kinds of random things that could happen. Those negotiations, they can make or break a deal. Number 14, you can buy an apartment, a condo, a townhome, or a house with as little as 3% down with what we call a conventional loan. Or you can use an FHA loan at 3.5%. That's your down payment. But did you know this? Did you know you can use an FHA 3.5% down payment to buy a duplex, a triplex, or a 4-unit building? And number 15, there are zero down payment options out there. They're not as easy to find if you're not in the military or you're not buying a USDA. But if you are buying in a rural area, that's where you can get a USDA loan for zero down payment. And if you're a military or a veteran, getting a zero down payment loan for you using a VA loan is easy and absolutely one of the best loan products out there. Number 16, with all the remote work that's happening right now, or if you're down with commuting to work and having a little bit of a drive, you can get a lot more home with a lot more space if you look 30 to 60 miles outside the city radius. Geography is now a financial tool for you to get a deal. Number 17, PMI or MI. It is not automatically evil, and most of the time, it's not a poor financial decision, especially in today's market. It can be the fee that lets you buy earlier instead of losing all that rental money for years while you're trying to save up 20% for a down payment. It's a small fee for the speed of being able to buy and to start getting the benefits now. And the one thing about it is it's much cheaper than most people think, and you also don't have to pay it forever. If you still have questions about PMI, check out episode 464. Number 18, a low down payment does not mean irresponsible. The real question is affordability, stability, and strategy, not whether your down payment impresses someone's grandmother. The math is on your side to do this sooner rather than later. On a $400,000 home, the difference between 15% down payment and a 5% down payment, it's $200. But it's also an extra $40,000 if you go from 15% to 5% that you get to keep in your pocket, put in your bank. And that'll be something that'll make it very easy for you to cover the extra $200 a month while also having the safety and stability knowing you have that money liquid and not tied up. Number 19, using a 401k or a Roth IRA might be a very great part of your home buying strategy. Now, buyers can use retirement funds for a primary residence without the usual penalties or taxes. It's not taking away from your stable future. It's not pulling out of your retirement. It's actually securing your future by diversifying your retirement and investment portfolio. Now, if that scares you, there's all the math in episode 423. And I'm telling you, don't listen to me, not me talking here on the microphone. Go listen to 423 and listen to the math. You can save tens of thousands in rent and really start building your wealth. Number 20, bad credit today doesn't mean no home tomorrow. The cool thing is, the lower your score, it's actually a lot easier to get jumps in 25, 50, even 75-point jumps in your score. And the thing I always recommend to everyone is what I like to call parallel planning. Fix your credit simultaneously while you prepare to buy a home. The mistake I see is people do one first, then the other. That's a huge delay. Puts a lot of extra time in your home buying journey. So don't delay the next chapter of your life. Work them simultaneously. Parallel planning. Episode 403. Number 21, do not self-diagnose your buying power. A lot of people go out there and they go to the internet, find a couple things, and they think they figured out exactly how much home they can buy. It's not the case. Too many buyers are preparing a loan. And then once they talk to a first-time homebuyer specialized realtor and lender, they discover they had options they never knew that they even existed until they talked to somebody who could explain the multiple lists of things, lots more than just this 56. I'm telling you, the number one thing that I've heard over the last 20 years from the tens of thousands of first-time homebuyers that I've assisted or coached, they tell me this. Once we get in the process, someone looks at me and goes, "Damn, Sidoni, now that I see all the options, I should have done this years ago." Number 22, all real estate negotiations come down to one thing. Well, actually, it's two things, but I put them together. Time and money. If you want to get the best deal, find creative ways to have a little extra cash for the deal. And the second thing is the time. Be sure to be flexible on your timing to move in. If you accommodate to the seller's needs, either really fast or maybe a little bit longer, if you can flex on that, that's a huge opening for you to ask for a better price because other buyers might not be able to do that. Real estate, two things, time and money. Check out episode 412 for more advice on this. Number 23, this is kind of a repeat, but I got to tell you again. Credit apps, Credit Karma and all the other ones, Rocket, that are giving you your credit score, they are completely inaccurate compared to what a mortgage lender is going to be looking at. I've talked to lenders all over the country, and they tell me they can be off by 20 or 50 points from the credit score that the home lenders see and the ones that they use to get you a home loan. And I said it before, I'll say it again. Find out what your score is, and know there's only one thing that you can do to fix your credit score, and that's work it over time. So this has got to be one of the very, very, very early steps that you do in your home buying journey. Find out where you're at and start fixing your credit score. Number 24, your debt to income ratio, your DTI, it changes with every single house that you look at. Your future mortgage payment, that's part of an equation that goes with each individual house. Not to mention that formula, it's going to fluctuate daily based on mortgage interest rates, which can sometimes change multiple times in one day. So when you get your numbers, don't try to approach every home with a concrete number in your head. Be ready to be flexible. And don't worry, sometimes it actually works in your favor. Which leads us right to Secret 25. I'm telling you, mortgage calculators are garbage, and you cannot accurately calculate your monthly payment on your own. It's a consistently changing formula. Mortgage rates are going to adjust up and down constantly. Like I said, sometimes even multiple times in one day. Each home is going to have the different taxes and insurance. And even sometimes homes in the same neighborhood or even on the same street, sometimes they're going to have a different number. So realize not only is that debt to income going to be different, but if you're going to spend all your time trying to calculate exactly what your monthly payment is going to be, you're going to end up going crazy. That's why you hire a great lender, and they can do it for you on each individual home. And number 26, I see everywhere, it's a rule. You have to have a job for 2 years to qualify for a home. Well, not always, especially if you're just coming out of college. You don't need 2 years at a job. It depends on what your job is, what the contract is, or what maybe even what a letter of intent is. So you need to make sure you talk to a lender to find out. And as far as needing 2 years on a job, but what happens if you switch jobs? If it's in the same industry, that's fine. It all counts on the same timeline. We've had people that have gone from one job to another in the same industry, and they switched their jobs as close as a week before they ended up closing on the home. Now, we got the approval early on it, but as long as it's in the same industry, 2 years, it can be at 2 different companies. Number 27, paying off your credit card completely can lower your credit score temporarily. So be ready for that. And don't wait to do it. The best way to avoid surprises is to work with a unicorn lender months before you're actually applying for the loan. You're going to want to get all the insider tips from them on how to strategically approach paying down your debt while you're also trying to build up your savings at the same time. Number 28, another tip, paying one debt down to 0. Sometimes removing a payment, it doesn't improve your debt-to-income ratio the way that you think. Check with your lender. Which leads to 29. Your lender may tell you not to pay off certain debts. Sometimes the cash is more important than how much that debt counts against your debt-to-income ratio. And if you're working on your own without professional guidance, you might end up paying off debts that aren't necessary for you to get the loan approval that you're looking for. And what does that do? Well, it lowers the amount of savings that you have for your down payment and your closing costs. Number 30, when it comes to knowing how much you need to pay at your closing when you're buying the home, everything you get is going to be an estimate, not an actual accurate number, right up until the day that you're signing your closing papers, which is just a day or 2 away from you getting your keys. So if you're compulsively anal and you want exact figures down to the penny at the beginning of your home contract, then I don't have anything to tell you. Go out and seek medical assistance and ask for a really strong prescription for anti-anxiety medication, because real estate doesn't do exact till the very end. Your payments, they're all affected by daily calculations. Per diem payments on your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, your HOA, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And because your closing date is never set in stone until we get to the very end, it can't get calculated till we get to the end. If you want to know more about closing costs, check out episode 438. Secret number 31, kids with barely any money can buy duplexes. Yeah, episode 358 is an interview with a young couple, 22 and 24 years old, bought a duplex for only $12,000 all in. And that's just one of the stories for people who discovered all their options. We actually have a bunch of stories of people who bought like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes for less than $5,000 out of pocket. No BS. The deal is they use the right combination of a low down payment loan, seller credits, and down payment assistance programs. Some examples are in episode 194, 239. I explain it all in episode 300. Great example in episode 399 with my boy Nick, and episode 414 as well. Those will all be in the show notes. Tip 32, sewer line and septic issues. These are common problems for homeowners, and they can be expensive, and they often get missed in the home inspection. So the tip is hire a great team. Get very good home inspection recommendations. The home inspector and follow-up home inspections for specialists for sewer and septic. This is not the time for you to shop for a deal. This is not the time for you to skimp and really try to pay the least amount for those inspectors. Pay for the good ones, because hundreds now could mean saving you tens of thousands of dollars later. Number 33. So it's kind of obvious, but I'll tell you it anyway. A renovated home does not always mean a problem-free home. Here's the things you want to look at to avoid that lipstick on a pig. You want to look at the big ticket items intensely. Roof, foundation, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. I can't tell you how many flipper homes I go see, and then I go out to the back and open the electrical panel, and the electrical panel's from 1956, but the inside of the home looks like it was just on HGTV yesterday. That's why you get a good inspection. Number 34, home shopping. It's an art form. It's math, psychology, financial planning, data research. And if you're buying with a partner, it's a heck of a lot of communication. There are 2 good episodes from this year to help you with your home shopping. Episode 477 is the Triangle of Success. And episode 468, Scouting Home Listings Like a Pro, your first-time home buyer's guide. Tip number 35, you're buying the property, not just the house that sits on the property. That means the trees, the sewer lines, the drainage, the fences, and the maintenance of the exterior of the home. That's all part of your purchase. Number 36, older homes are great. And if you're looking at those, make sure you get an extra set of eyes, especially if it's been renovated. Get your sewer scopes, your radon checks, your arborist out there to check out some of the older trees. Take a good look at the roof, the foundation, and also talk to your insurance people early when you've got an offer in on an older home. Because all those items, they matter a heck of a lot more than how nice it was they redid the baseboards. Tip number 37, if you're buying outside of the town you live in and you've got to plan a trip to go there and you're going to do a blitz shopping weekend, this requires a very specific detailed plan. I know this sounds silly, but here's what I've been recommending to people for years. Number one, before you come to town, get into town early, get to bed, and get plenty of rest for that day that we're going to go out and look at a whole bunch of homes. And then we're going to organize the geographic routes to all the showings, all the timings of when we're going to see the home. We're going to organize that by geography. So you get a nice tour of the whole town, as well as we're not going back and forth and not maximizing our efficiency for the day. And you do want to leave some time between your showing appointments to explore the neighborhoods. That's going to be an important part of what you're looking at as well. Always make sure that you prepare for the weather. Eat a big old breakfast in the morning, caffeinate up big time, bring lots of snacks, and take notes while you're looking at the homes. I always tell people, if you can, just use the voice memo on your phone. Just say, okay, this is 123 Main Street, and then start rattling. Tip number 38, the best market for you to buy a home might not be what others consider to be the best investment market in your area. Now, if you're one of those people that's excited to get out of an apartment and you're going to make your home your fortress of solitude, you're planning on hunkering down into that homestead, the typical financial data that you hear about comparable homes and other markets and what people are saying homes are worth, this stuff might not pertain to you. Homes that are in the popular communities or in great school districts, they're going to fetch higher prices. They're going to be higher price per square foot as well. And that's going to skew the financial market data. So you might get a great deal for yourself looking off the beaten path. Just make sure you know the numbers. And tip number 39, speaking of investments, look, whatever you're going to do with your home in 5 or 10 years, that is completely and totally up to you. And I'm not saying make a decision today because life happens, things will change. But I do want everyone to do this enormous favor for yourself. Listen to episode 406. It's step 6 in the first 10 steps. And if you've listened to the 10 steps already, go back and listen to 406 one more time if it's been a minute. I'm telling you, listen again. Nobody talks about what I talk about there in 406, which is the options for what you can do with your first home, plan A and plan B. And the reason is because there's no way for a business to make any money off it. This is just me giving you the greatest piece of long-term home ownership advice that I could give you. Plan A and plan B. Again, life's going to change, but if you can, again, do the parallel path while you own your home to have the option to keep your home and make it an investment property so you will have a gigantic chunk of money later on when you retire, or sell the home and buy that forever perfect home, but running both those plans together, if you do that, this could change your financial life forever. And number 40, speaking of forever, this first home you buy doesn't have to be your forever home. In today's economy, in today's housing market, sometimes the only way to achieve the stability of home ownership is to adopt a starter home strategy so you can get your foot in the door and eventually work plan A or plan B to get yourself your forever home. Number 41, just some simple math for you. Homes over the last 100 years have historically appreciated, gone up in value 4% every year. Now, in the last 20 years, that number's still the same, even though we've seen big ups and big downs. The average is 4%. Tip 42, mortgage rates that are down in the 3% range. That was a once-in-a-lifetime emergency reaction to a global pandemic, and they're not coming back. The average interest rate since the 1970s, mortgage rates are at 7.7%. And for 2026 and 2027, your best plan when you're thinking about interest rates is to go ahead and assume it's going to be around 6%. Don't expect things to drop down to 4.5 or 4.99. Tip number 43, a housing crash is not coming because a housing crash requires greater supply than demand, and that's not happening. We're 4 to 5 million homes short of what we need, and half the country is still seeing bidding wars, especially for the starter homes. Low inventory, that's the key to this illogical market with prices continuing to go up. And that's going to keep happening unless millions and millions of homes come out for sale or are built by the builders, and that's not happening either. If you want to hear all the math to back it up, I've been reporting this same math since I started the podcast in 2019. And I've actually been talking to all my first-time home buyers since 2014 when this low inventory started. And I have to tell you that this entire time, that 12 years now, 13 years now, it's been correct. Not because I'm a genius. It's just because I can do math. Inventory is a thing. Supply and demand is how markets work. If you want to hear the math for this year's information, check out episode 457. This market isn't crashing. It's just constrained by supply and demand. Tip number 44, know your numbers before you start dream shopping on Zillow. That's the tip. Know your numbers before you even think about seriously looking. Guessing or estimating what you can afford each month and what kind of home you can get and how big a price you can handle, that's how people go house poor. Know your numbers. Tip number 45. Now, what I actually find when people do know their numbers is that most people are far more ready than they think. Listeners with debt, with low savings, with student loans or imperfect credit, they still find out that there's a much simpler path for them. And when they start working the right plan, they got there so much quicker than they ever thought they could. Tip number 46, don't watch the market all day long, looking at prices and interest rates, trying to time your purchase of a home like you're a day trader on the stock market. Buying your first home, it's more like starting a 401k. The sooner you start it, the more time can work for you and the bigger that your investment will end up being. The fact of the matter is, every market looks like you need to time it differently. Every market looks like you could do better at a different time because every market has a challenge and every challenge has solutions for you. The win comes from finding the strategy for your specific market, not waiting for the perfect conditions for some magic future market, especially here in 2026 and 2027. I mean, what we're in right now is a flat market with flat interest rates. That means any fluctuation in the market, it might save you, maybe $3,000 if there's a little dip in prices or rates. But planning with a professional team and learning all about your options, that could save you $30,000 that you didn't even know was on the table. So don't wait to try to time things to be your magic savings. Your magic savings comes in figuring out all of your options and understanding it's going to be flat for the next little while. So getting in when you can get in, that's your best deal. Tip 47, build your dream team before the dream house hunt. The dream home search, that should start well after your financial game plan with the professionals, definitely not before it. Pretty simple philosophy. There's the cart, there's the horse, one goes one place and one goes the other. Most buyers create all of their own plans on their own before they ever talk to a professional. And it's not that that's bad or wrong. I can just tell you from years of experience, I guarantee you it's massively incomplete. You're missing options, programs, strategies. And most of the time, once you talk to someone, you're going to find out that you're a lot closer than you think when you discover all those options. Tip number 48, your realtor, don't think of them as a person who just opens the doors. A really exceptional first-time homebuyer realtor, they're a strategist, educator, a pre-planning expert, an advocate for you, someone with market savvy, as well as compassion for what it's like to be a first-time homebuyer in this market. They're your market guide, they're your protector, they're your negotiator, and they're your mistake prevention machine who is connected in the community and may be able to use their status to get you a better deal. Tip number 49, don't assume that the agent that you find on a website or on an app is an actual real specialist or a local professional, despite what the app or the website tells you. Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes.com and all the other internet buyer connection systems, they're connecting buyers simply to whoever paid that website the most money or whoever happens to be the person that's available at that moment. It is definitely not an individual that they have vetted to find out if they're the actual best person for a first-time home buyer in your area. Number 50, I try to be positive all the time, but I have to tell you, in this industry, the bar is so low for people to get their real estate license that any straight-up Yahoo can get their license and show up at an open house. So be careful. There are a lot of nice people that work open houses, but open houses are a training ground for, sorry, you might be super nice, but you're clueless about your job. And it's not your fault. No one in the industry trained you. It's real estate's fault. But nice and someone that you vibe with a little bit, great. That is absolutely not enough when this is the biggest financial transaction of your life. You need to go deeper than nice. Number 51, the biggest choice you make in your home buying decision with your home, your loan, your warranty, your insurance, your inspections, the biggest choice that you make, it's who represents you. Because the people you hire can shape your results more than almost anything else that you're researching out there and trying to avoid red flags. And the cool thing about it is most of the time, the seller is going to pay for all or almost all of the fees. So you're not even paying for it. So hire the best you can. Look for what I call a unicorn realtor and lender, not a donkey. Unicorns exist. They're out there and they're in your area. They're unicorns because they're a rare combination. They're experienced and highly trained, and they've got all the qualities I talked to you about a little bit ago in the past couple tips. Because first-time homebuyer specialists, they're going to treat first-time homebuyers like multi-million-dollar seller clients. And they're going to have the savvy and the experience to know all the individual local tactics because they've been helping first-time homebuyers not just buy a home, but with the entire pre-planning, the creative options, the strategy building. And they understand that eventually they're going to get to the finish line. So there's never any pressure because they feel like, hey, I know how to do this and we're going to do it how it's best for them. And eventually we'll get to that finish line. And the other nice thing about when you know you've hired the right people is when you find out that they're the kind of people who stay in touch with their buyers even after they've closed on the home. And tip number 52, now we get to the lender side. A good lender is so much more than just someone who quotes you a great rate. Never choose a lender just by somebody quoting you a rate. The best rate possible, that is not the same as the best total plan possible. Shopping for just the best rate, and especially if you don't understand an interest rate and an APR, this is the top way that first-time homebuyers get burned. The best lender for you should feel more like a financial advisor and an educator than they are someone who's quoting rates or crunching numbers. They should be showing you how to create the best plan first so that you can discover all the different loan product options for you. And then they're going to coach you and inform you on different down payment strategies, on your debt to income ratio, things you can move around to get yourself in a better position, give yourself more purchasing power. They're going to help you with credit scores, first-time homebuyer grants, mortgage rate buydowns, seller credits. And they're also going to talk to you about the right timing because sometimes buying the first of the month, the end of the month, that could change your calculations completely. Tip number 53, online calculators are garbage and are single-handedly crushing the American dream. They're just wrong. Sometimes they're asking you to pay way too much, and sometimes they're missing things and making you think you can afford more than you actually can. But I got to tell you, most of the time, they just put in a number that is way too high. It scares people off. And then that's why they don't pursue talking to somebody. And that's why the American dream is getting crushed because people are renting for years longer than they should and that they actually need to. Online mortgage calculators don't account for all of the real world variables, all of the options that can happen in a first-time home buying purchase, and all the negotiations that your great team could do to change those numbers drastically. Tip number 54. One big mistake in 2026 and even potential 2027 first-time home buyers that they're making right now and that I hear all the time. It's comparing a rent payment to what a would-be mortgage payment. They punch it into the calculator and they go, oh, well, it's not affordable. Yep, doesn't make sense for me to go from renter to homeowner. Look at the difference in those two monthly payments. Way too much for me to go into right here. So if that's what you think, do me a favor. Go listen to the real math, because the real math, it's not being told to you. And it's all there in episode 460. You can even put it in a full spreadsheet formula. I broke it down to the nitty-gritty mathematical details. Tip number 55. Now, 54 was a big mistake, but tip 55, this is the biggest mistake. And this isn't just happening right now where people are comparing those two monthly payments. This is the biggest mistake I've seen for first-time homebuyers in my entire 20 years of coaching first-time homebuyers. And it's this: people wait too long to start. Start earlier than you think. Worst thing can happen is you start working a plan, and you know what? You were right. It is going to take you 2 years. But I'm telling you, I have seen it. I have the math. I know it sucks that you're not getting all the information that you need. Everybody out there is online spreading lies because they're just not getting the right information. Because unfortunately, real estate industry doesn't want to give this to you because they're lazy and they suck. So it's not your fault, but you're here. So now you can be an innovator. Now you can be an early adopter. Start earlier than you think. Worst thing to happen is you work a plan for 2 years and you buy a house in 2 years. What's probably going to happen is you're going to work a 3-year plan and buy in 1 year. You're going to work a 2-year plan and you're going to buy in 8 or 9 months. Or you're going to work a 12-month plan and you're probably going to buy in 3 months. That's a lot of rent money that's being taken out of your landlord's pocket and put into your financial well-being. The real first-time home buyer winners are the people that hire their team at least 12 months out, and then they work a professionally guided plan. And tip number 56, do not come to the podcast for how to buy a home. Come to the podcast for how to plan to buy a home. Should have named it that in the very beginning, but I didn't. That shift to that mindset is going to save you stress, mistakes, and possibly tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. There it is. That's the list. And I finished with my biggest piece. And I know I say that a lot, that starting early is the thing to do. And people are like, oh, of course it is, because then you're bringing people in and you want them to come into your... I don't care. Do you know, just this week, I've gotten about 15 people that have reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, thanks so much. Yeah, but was listening to your stuff and I bought a townhome 2 years ago, bought a house last year. Cool. People who never reached out to me, just people who reached out once and I kept in touch with them. And then they tell me, oh my gosh, your podcast really helped me buy a home. I go through everything that you need to do to buy a home. There's, what are we, episode 480 something right now? So everything you need is right here. Today, I gave you a bunch of insider secrets, but the biggest secret is you don't have to do this alone. Go ahead, find your own unicorn team or ask me. I don't care how you do it, but stop trying to prepare to buy a home on your own because you're cutting months or years off of the timeline when you could actually purchase a home. And there are a whole bunch of other crazy things on this list, so share them with your friends who are renting. Text it over to them. Go, dude, did you know this? And if you could, please do me a big, big favor. If anything on the list was a revelation to you, if you went, oh my God, I didn't know that. If just once even, can you do me a favor and just take 1 minute and write a written review for the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Google? Like I said, I don't care how people do it. I'm not taking money. I'm not taking ads. I'm really not even trying to grow my own business with this podcast. I'm hoping that it will do it through osmosis, that it'll get out there and enough people will know that I'm really here just trying to keep everybody in the actual know with what's happening because there's so many people that are bummed out and bitter. I don't take the sponsors and I'm doing this all for free. And the only way that my message gets out to the more people is the number of reviews, because that means the more reviews I have, the more people who are desperately searching for answers are going to find the podcast that's bringing the truth. We're bringing clarity, insider secrets, and honest care for the plight of the first-time home buyers. That's what everything is about here at How to Buy a Home. So I hope you enjoyed the list. Tons of stuff today. If you've got any questions or you want to ask for your own unicorn team, go to howtobuyahome.com and just ask. You can ask a question, ask for a unicorn team. There's buttons. You can do either one. We're ready for you to level up. The answers for you, they're out there. And if you're working with the right team, you might find out you could get your answers in, could be 3 years, or it could be 3 weeks. I'm positive of that. I've seen it. And I know you can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.